everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. A little while ago, Casey was asking how to play the Freddie. More precisely, how to push in this thing and what to do when you're bottom tier. So, well, I got some footage around, so, well, let's go for it. Now, we've got a Midway, a Monty, a Kurfürst, another Monty, a Des Moines, and a Rune on the enemy team. No destroyers on the enemy team, but on our team there's a Shimakaze, and we're bottom tier, aside from the bot, we're the only tier 9 in this battle. And we're playing Cage, so let's pause it here and have a look how we're dispositioned. Now, enemy carrier in play, which means, well, lots of planes, and it's dangerous to get separated. So what we want to do, since we're spawning on the left flank, they don't have any destroyers, so we don't have to worry about destroyers on the, coming around and outflanking us. But we are in a bottom tier battleship. So what we want to do is we want to head, but we do need to get close to do any kind of damage. We want to head slightly towards that island right in front of us, and well, use that as a cover a little bit in the beginning, so we're not getting focused down so quickly. And see where the enemy is positioned. So the most important thing is to find out where are the enemy ships, how are they positioned, and can I break through, can I push this, or can I not push this? So given that this is a tier 10 battle, I don't want to be in the center and in the cup, because we have our 2 tier 10 battleships there, they can do that. And we've got a Shima to do a flanking run on the right side, and unless the enemy carrier puts a stop to that. So let's go and see what that looks like. Cage is can be a bit tricky to play if you're in a battleship. It's either get into the cup and hold, or it's push around the flank. And since I'm in a fast battleship and I'm in a bottom tier battleship, I'm gonna go left. But again, I'm going to kind of head towards that little island, keep my guns pointed inwards because, well, that's most likely where I'm going to see anything, and because if I need to disengage, I'll be turning around left to get back, and then I have my guns pointing in the right direction. So we're starting to move out, and we're starting to get some idea about the enemy position. So let's stop again here. There are 2 interesting things so far that have happened. The first thing is our carrier has been spotting, and we know where their 3 battleships are. They are all clustered up around there, so they are heading towards the center line of the cup for to battle for cup control. This also, the second thing that we've noticed, and that is very important, is that the enemy carrier player has problems. I don't know if he's lagging, but so far he's only managed to get his fighters out. Usually when that happens, and the carrier doesn't immediately send a drop out at the beginning of the game to scout, that means that he's repositioning, but he isn't. He's still in his spawning position, we can see him up there. So that means the enemy team has a huge problem now, because their carrier isn't scouting the Shima. And that also means that their carrier, if he has problems, isn't going to aggressively drop us. So what things are preventing us from pushing? Well, we could get focused on by battleships, but we know where the battleships are, and we can use that island for cover. We could get dropped by destroyers, but there aren't any in the game. Or we could be focused on by the carrier, but the carrier seems to have other problems right now. So this looks like a case of where we can push a little bit more forward. So let's go, and let's see what else we're going to spot. One of the battleships seems to be heading a bit out there. There's another cruiser. Okay, let's pause again. Sorry for the frequent pauses, but I'm just really trying to explain the thought process. So now we have the whole enemy team spotted. We know where the Des Moines is, and we know where I think the other one's a bot Des Moines, and we know where the other cruiser is. He's on the other side. So Shima now has to be a bit careful. But since the carrier isn't scouting, our Shima can roll up the right flank. Now we have a bot Baltimore on our side, who's not going to do much great, but let's see, he's cancelling more or less out the bot Des Moines. We seem to have one other battleship following us. So our team is making a heavy commitment to the left flank, because there are 2 ships on the left flank, and they're holding center with only one battleship, one cruiser. Shima takes right, and we have one more ship on the left flank. That means we have to make something happen here, and push through, because otherwise the the balance of power, we're not going to make any use of this balance of power, because the balance of power is in our favor. Now a Des Moines, this Des Moines is already overextending. At this point, if I was in this Des Moines, and he sees me because I'm detected. If I was in that Des Moines, I'd be slamming the brakes on, let the bot take point, and point my nose towards the battleships and start unloading high explosive and try to burn them down. And that's the only way a Des Moines can do this. Now, with the help of the carrier, that would actually be very viable. So if the carrier was dropping and the Des Moines was setting fires, I would not be pushing into that. But let's continue. And we see both Des Moines, the bot is going to push forward anyway. The Des Moines pushing forward. Now he stops. He realized, oh, battleships. And that means my first 2 shots are missing. But keep an eye on the smoke. You can see if he's going forwards or backwards. Now he's going forwards again. So these are going to hit. Unfortunately, no citadel. But at this point, you've seen I've angled slightly in to see what was going to happen. And now the carrier starts dropping, and there's another battleship coming. So we're going to get a bit more attention on this flank. You see, there's the große Kurfürst, but I'm going to ignore the bot Des Moines and go for the player, because I've got a battleship behind me and he can take care of the bot. Now the Des Moines realizes he's in trouble, and I'm realizing I'm targeted by 3 players. It's probably the carrier and the 2 Des Moines. So I am going to have to push this, because I'm committed. If I'm not going to make something happen on this flank, because we're 1 ship down, no, the enemy is 2 ships down, and the Des Moines is realizing the error of his ways and is reversing, but it's giving me an awful lot of broadside to shoot at. And he's getting really lucky that I'm not able to citadel him here. Now he's turning around, and he's just trying to wiggle his way out of this one. But I'm a little bit far out at this point. A bit further out than I actually want, but I do want that Des Moines down. Should have probably pointed. I was trying to get my guns on and get a citadel and just wipe him out, but Des Moines are sturdy ships. So I'm too far out here actually. Let's pause again and see what's going on. So you realize that there was one carrier drop coming our way. There are another dive bombers coming our way. I'm not seeing any torpedo bombers though. And the Shima has rolled up their right flank because they have the cruisers have neglected to secure their left flank, which is our right. So what does it look like? We've lost a battleship and a cruiser. They've lost 2 cruisers and a battleship. But they have 2 battleships and a cruiser in the cap and a carrier against one of our cruisers and our carrier. So that's a dangerous situation. They can push through the center at this point. And me and this Montana here have gotten a little bit too far out from the cap. I would have liked to stay closer to it. And that was probably just blindness, because I was trying to focus down this Des Moines. But we do need to turn a sharp right now and head straight for the carrier and for their battleship line. Fortunately, because the Shima got through, the carrier is probably going to be otherwise occupied for the foreseeable future and not going to be dropping us. So the Monty takes out the Des Moines, which means the Kurfürst is the next one in line, and you can see the guns of the Kurfürst. You see where they're pointing. They're pointing into the cap circle. He's trying to give fire support into the cap circle. Why he's hanging around back there is another question. So there comes the first dive bomber set. They're dropping, minor damage. I'm pointing the nose in, and I'm full speed ahead towards the Kurfürst. Second drop, that's 1 fire. I'm not going to damage con that, just in case there are torpedo bombers coming. And as much as I would like to use my broadside, I'm just going to rush, because I need to get closer to make my ship work. Now there's the Midway. The Midway is now in a full-on panic because he's got a Shimakaze hunting him. I should have scouted that one earlier. We've got fire out. And still no citadels, but a couple of decent hits. And we're taking return fire, and that's either the Kurfürst or what is it, Montana over there. But they're now 4 ships down to our 2. The carrier is almost is almost dead. So I'm leaving the carrier for the Shima, because I've got 2 broadsiding battleships there, who are now getting crossfired. There's, I think that's a Minotaur on our side, so he needs support. I need to distract the battleships. Yeah, that's a Minotaur. Because the Minotaur can't take any hits. The Monty is flooding, that's probably the carrier's doing. And the Kurfürst is trying to shoot at the Shimakaze, because the Shima has taken out the carrier by now. And they're surrounded. They're in the cap, they're controlling the cap, but it's not going to do them any good because they're surrounded. So at this point it's a bit of a turkey shoot, really. And again, I'm getting dropped. The carrier is already dead, so I'm damage controlling this because there's nothing that can set me on fire again. And I'm just keeping my fire up against the enemy ships here. But we've pushed around the left flank successfully. I could have done this without the Montana behind me. So that was a very risky move of him to support this left flank push. But it's paid off mostly because the enemy has neglected to secure our flanks and to catch the Shima. If they had caught the Shima, this would have been a completely different scenario. So it's not just your own flank that you have to secure and make sure what's going through, but you also have to keep an eye on, well, on the general tactical situation, if you know what I mean. So yeah, well done the Shimakaze for pushing through the right flank undetected. And I'm coming second to the last even. Didn't manage to sink anything. Look at our scores. They're all quite close to each other. So yeah, probably the one thing I could have done a little bit better would have been to not get drawn out to the side that much by the Des Moines. And obviously the Des Moines, what they should have done would be to find an island, use it and high explosive spam the battleships coming in, and rely on the carrier to drop us. The carrier really was a key failure in their team because they didn't have any destroyers of their own, and it's really the carrier's job to scout for enemy DDs. They knew there was a Shima out there. They knew he wasn't in the cap circle. So yeah, that was that. Let's do another one. Alright, in this game we're playing Golden Channel, and the enemies, we're top tier. Enemy's team has an Iowa and a Magi and a Rune. The rest is all bots. No destroyers on any team. So no destroyers, that means we can push in. Now again, let me pause it here quickly so we can take stock of the situation. We're on the right flank. This is a bot cruiser heavy game, so it's basically party on. We are probably going to... So I could push through the center, but I would like to go through the right flank and into the caps, so pass by the island and go into the cap circle from the right. Now, if there were destroyers on the enemy team, I would have to be careful and I would secure the right flank. So I would position myself between the 2 islands, right on the right side of the cap circle, and just make sure we know where the destroyers are before I push any further, so I can back off if I need to. But since there aren't any, and it's going to be a bot game, so it's be a brawl anyway, I want to push past the right island and then get stuck in, because there's nothing that has torpedoes in here. So I want to get stuck in, I want to get close up, and I want to get my guns to work. And I'm in a top tier battleship with lots of health, so there's that. Okay, we've got a Cleveland and an Izumo on our team. So obviously the bots are going to push into the cap circle anyway. So this is not about cap control, even though it is it's this map. But this is not about cap control. This is about dominance of guns. So this is about how quickly we can reduce the number of guns and make sure that we have the highest amount of guns firing. So the Izumo is a Japanese battleship, so she has to be a bit careful, and the Cleveland obviously is an HE spammer, so he also has to stand back. So for the 2 of them, it makes sense to stay back and let the bots take the heat while they're ensuring the kills. For me, no such reservations. I'm in a top tier battleship and I'm in a German battleship. There's nothing out here that can really hurt me. I know that there's an Iowa, and I also know that I can shred that Iowa to bits if I can get close enough. And I'm not scared of the bots because they are most likely not going to taunt me. And the only thing that can hurt me anyway is the tackle over there. So as predicted, they're all pushing in center line, and the bots clash into each other. So I'm just coming around the right side here, and you could say, oh, don't shoot at the bots. No, so why? By all means do shoot at the bots, because you do need to reduce the amount of guns. Bots can still set fires, right? There's they will shoot AG quite a bit, so reduce the amount of guns that shoot back at you before you deal with the players if you have something in range. So for example here, my mains go out against the Boom, and my secondaries go on against the North Carolina, and my auto secondaries hopefully should get some fire out on the Taco over there. And there's my auto secondaries opening up at the North Cal, so secondaries, North Carolina. And now unfortunately this bot is pushing me out, which is, I really wanted to get into the cup here and not be pushed out. The bot's North Carolina is dead, so again I'm firing out at the rune. That's one lucky rune. The bot's pushing me outside the cap circle, so this is not where I wanted to be. So I'm gonna have to stop myself and then see that I can make that turn and get back into the cap circle. Now let's pause here for a second and see what our situation is. So the enemy team is 3 ships down, and that rune isn't going to last much longer. It looks like one of our battleships is with me, or that's the bot. I'm not quite sure at this point. But there's only the Cleveland left in the cap circle. He is way too close. He doesn't have torpedoes. He doesn't have the DPS. At this point, we are leading 130 points. It doesn't matter if the enemy catches the cap circle, because we are 1 kill ahead. It's going to be 2 kills in a second. And I'm on my way in, so he has to back off. Going on, we'll see what goes on. So the rune's dead. I'm not even wasting a shot at the rune. I'm just opening up at the Iowa and trying to reverse and get my ship around. And there comes our Izumo. So yes, he's realized he needs to get into the cap as well. The Cleveland just YOLOs at this point. I have no idea what he was trying to do or what he was trying to achieve. If he had torpedoes, that might have worked. If he was at a Japanese cruiser, that might have worked. But he isn't. He's an American light cruiser. So yeah, he's dead. The 2 bots there can take care of the Takao that's escaped. We're still holding the cap. There, Takao's gone. The Cleveland isn't going to last much longer, but the Iowa is relatively low on health at this point, because me and the Izumo have been able to just shoot away at him while he was busy sinking the Cleveland. So now it's 2 battleships left against us in 2 battleships and 2 bots. So obviously the Iowa being on low health and being the more dangerous ship, I'm opening up the Iowa. Obviously the Izumo then opens up at the Amagi, who is full health. Let me pause it here again. So if you're in a situation like this, or even if, let's imagine it's just 2-on-2, right? Always target the ship that you can sink, because it doesn't matter if a ship has 100% health or if it's only 1 health remaining, it has the same firepower. So if you can sink a ship, that means it can't shoot back at you. If you have angles, and I think the Izumo didn't have angles because the Iowa is trying to retreat behind the island. If you have angles, try to kill that ship. Now, the Iowa will go behind the island, which leaves the Amagi against the Izumo and myself. So, yeah, he's not going to last long, and he's in a Japanese battleship. But what's he going to do? They lost the game pretty much at this point. We're 300 points ahead. And this is what happens when you're sailing broadside in a Japanese battleship against the Großer Kurfürst. Against Friedrich der Große. Großer Kurfürst will happen as well. Here we go again. So yeah, it's Skadoosh. That's a couple of secondary shots. And here come the main guns again. And at 3 kilometers, I'm not even bothering to aim. I'm just punching straight through his belt armor. And he survives on almost no health. And the Izumo takes him out. Okay, so that leaves the Iowa. Now, the Iowa is the only one left to clean up. So at this point, well, how would we have done this any different? Well, if there were destroyers on the enemy team or anything that had torpedoes, which was a player, we wouldn't have played like this. But because of the composition and because of the ship we're in, we know that we're top tier, we know that we can just push in. And at this point I'm trying to get the rear guns around maybe to fire at the Iowa, but I can't get them to swing around in time. So I'm just gonna let the Izumo take this one down if he can. Nope, he takes out the Izumo, but I think he gets taken out in return. So yes, that was just an all-out brawl. So at the beginning of the battle, figure out what you want to do and what the tactical situation is, and set your mind right to how you're going to go in there, and what your objective is and how you're going to play this. All right, that's one more. All right, in this battle we are top tier, and but we have a carrier on the enemy team. There's an Iowa on the enemy team, and there's a Benson on the enemy team. We're playing Encounter, so we're gonna have to play this smart because they have enough firepower, especially with the carrier, to make our life very unpleasant, because the German battleships are not the greatest. Now let me pause it here and we look at the disposition. So this is Encounter. This is a very common map in top tiers. There are the spawn is cross spawn. So the enemy team is going to be up north, basically. It's going to be one bulk and the other one sits in the cap circle. So we have two choices here. We definitely need to secure our left flank, but we have a battleship, a cruiser, and a destroyer on the left flank, plus the carrier. So if we want to play this aggressively, I'm top tier, we can do this, but I can't do this alone. So I don't want to rush forward and then run into the Benson and get torped, and then focused down by the enemy team while the rest of my team sits back and defends. So we're going to have to see how we play this, if we play it aggressively or defensively. So let's see how this is going to play out. We do have a battleship with us. We don't know yet who it is. So let's have a quick look around. So we've got our Benson and we've got our Bismarck. Okay. So I'm starting to move forward. And immediately, okay, I'll pause again. Immediately the Bismarck calls out, let's defend. So this is important, because if half of your team defends and the other half attacks, you've lost the game. You have to make up your mind if you want to push aggressively or if you want to play defensively and let the enemy come towards you. If you play defensively, there's going to be a push on our left flank and there's going to be an enemy movement either through the middle or on our right flank. So I immediately agree. Said okay, that's what we do. Carrier starts coming out. So and I'm looking at the Bismarck and seeing what he's doing. Yes, he's playing defensively. The Benson's going wide. So the Benson's going to try and sneak around. So he's realized we're not pushing this side with the battleships. And there comes the enemy Benson. He's spotted by our carrier. This is important. The carrier needs to spot. So we know where the enemy Benson is. He's one of the dangerous ships towards us. There are some planes coming in. So the enemy carrier is coming in. Yes, he's obviously spotted our Benson as well, but he decides to send the torpedo planes out to try to send them in my side. There's nothing I can do about this. So I'm just going to take these on the side. Yep, that's a flooding. Damage control that. That's 10,000 damage. Nothing that I can't deal with. And there comes the Baltimore. So there was a Benson as well. So secondary's out at the Benson, primary's out at the Baltimore. And I'm heading towards the island here, so I'm not getting rushed by the Benson. And the Benson is rushing towards me. But he gets some attention from my secondaries. I mean, he hasn't taken much damage yet. So let's see where he's going. I'm actually going to use my primary guns as well, although I have the AP loaded just at the distance. If he's dropped torps, the island's in the way, and he get way too close for comfort. He hasn't poked his smoke because he knows I have a hydro. I don't even need to use that hydro, because I know that these torps aren't going to hit me if he's got torps out. But I'm slowing down. The Baltimore is pushing around right, and our destroyer is spotted because he gets attacked by the carrier. So I need to deal with this Baltimore because he's an HE spammer. And oh, there come the Benson torps. I knew they would come either this way or behind me, but they couldn't hit me from there. Now the Baltimore again is at 9 kilometers. You're in a Baltimore. You want to use high explosive, and you want to stay at the distance. And already he's way too close, because he's pushing into a battleship now. Again, there come the planes again. So the carrier is dropping me quite heavily, but it's nothing I can handle. Yep, there, that hurt. Again, carrier drop. So control the flooding, but I've got the health pool to deal with this. And the Baltimore got way too close, giving me broadside. And that's going to be the end of him with the next salvo. Now the reason I'm reversing out here is because I actually want to be on the other side. Because there are 3 battleships. There, Baltimore's down, that's dealt with. There's a Wichita and 3 battleships. So I'm relatively low on health at this point. I've been tanking quite a bit. Our Benson has made it through the right flank because the Baltimore completely failed to do his job and tried to go into a close range fight with the battleship. This takes care of the Wichita. And I'm just waiting for my heal to come off cooldown, because the rest of the team hasn't taken much damage. I've taken the brunt so far, but that's okay. That's what I'm in a tier 9 battleship for, in a tier 8 game. So it looks like the carrier has given up, and it's not even trying to defend the cup, and the Benson's just sitting there. And for us, this means we've got 1, 2, 3 battleships and a cruiser. And they've got 2 battleships on the other side. They've lost this game. I'm just going to heal up a bit so I don't get sniped. And the Iowas go... Oh, that was close. The Edinburgh almost got him there, broadsiding on. But I'm just trying to get a bit closer, because I'm still on the other side. Turning my ship around would have taken too long. Look at the torps from the Edinburgh. The Iowa... If that was not an Edinburgh, if that was a minnow, he'd be dead. But he's flooding, and he's out of heals, and he's dead. So, okay, that means we just have to clean up. Let's see it's a race now. It's a race between us being able to clean up and the Benson capping out the enemy cap. So, what could have gone better here? Obviously, knowing where the destroyer was and knowing that our team plays this defensively allowed me to, well, not run into a full spread of torpedoes and lose half of my health in the beginning of the game and then be focused down. But we've discussed it as a team. We said, yeah, we'll play defensively. We let them come. And, well, they rushed, but they didn't play the ships to their roles. Right? So the destroyer got shot down. We've held our left flank, which is exactly, again, what I said. We've held our left flank. I was alone on the right flank, but that was okay, because it was only a Baltimore, and I could sustain the carrier drops for quite a bit. If I given that I was top tier, and I didn't really have to worry about destroyer torps so much. So this was a situation where you do not want to push, because if your team plays in a defensive formation, and you push, you're dead. So this early communication has completely won us the battle. That single sentence from the Bismarck and me agreeing to it has won us the battle. The Benson knew what he was doing. The other ones were clustering around and securing the left flank. I was securing the right. The Bismarck was playing center. And our destroyer was basically playing lone wolf, outflanking the enemy team completely. Their cruiser neglected to defend against that destroyer and fall back and basically try to get into a close range fight with me, which is suicidal. And yeah, that's how that played out. Now, is it always working? No, it's not always going to work. Like I said, you say, hey, let's defend, and then half the team agrees and the other half just goes in YOLOs, and you lose the game. That can happen. But still try for these sort of things and make your decision and then play accordingly and decide. You're in a battleship, you have big guns, but if you're letting yourself get separated and focused down by either destroyers or carriers, or even just HE spamming cruisers if they know what they're doing, then you can lose. So make sure that you get an idea about the general tactical flow of the battle. That is absolutely essential. In a destroyer, it's a lot easier because you can always just go off on your own, not get spotted and torp people, and not even care about the flow of the battle. In a battleship, you don't have that flexibility. You need to understand what the tactical situation is and when it is that you want to push because you can make something happen, and when it is that you want to not push and defend and hold a position and play with your team. So I hope that has clarified that a little bit, at least on how I'm thinking about this. And yeah, thanks for asking. And I hope this was somewhat useful to everybody. And that's it for today. So I'll see you all next time. Bye.